This is Travis P11. I'd like to welcome you back to the channel. Well guys, we have a Ruger Precision Rifle here with the Burris Eliminator 3. I just want to talk about just a few things you need to know about this scope before you decide to buy it. This is part 2 in a multi-part series on this scope. Now, the first part was me just talking about a general overview of the features, specifications, what you need to know about the scope before you buy it. Burris, thumbs up. You guys give some great literature on how to program the scope, how to use it. They say you can set it up in a couple minutes with 6 or 7 easy steps. You can to a point. So let me just talk about the experience I've had with this so far. This is a 6.5 Creedmoor, and so there's 2 little bits of information you need to plug into the scope before you can use it. So just keep this in mind if you're thinking about buying one of these scopes. The first one's going to be the ballistic coefficient information, or the BC number, as they refer to in the manuals. And the second part is what's called the drop number. The drop number is basically the bullet drop at 750 yards at sea level. Okay, not a big deal. The only problem that you might run into is, depending on the cartridge that you're shooting, you might not have that drop information available to you easily accessed, okay? So they do give you a cartridge list. Now, this cartridge list that came with this scope was printed in 2015. I did go to the Burris website, and they do have cartridge information listed for 6.5 Creedmoor. They are going to give you the ballistic coefficient information as well as the drop information, the 2 little numbers that you need to program this scope. Now, a couple little catches with that. The first one is that there's only 4 or 5 different bullets that are listed, or ammunition listed for it, on the Burris website for 6.5 Creedmoor. There's none in this cartridge list at all. So unless you're shooting that information, it is up to you to get the ballistic coefficient information, which is not hard to do. You can get that on most of your ammunition websites, but the drop number is going to be a little bit trickier. I don't know if you can just call the company and get the info, or if you can look around and try to find that drop info. Again, it's the bullet drop at 750 yards at sea level. So to get that number, unless you wait for Burris to publish it in the updated cartridge lists online, you can call the manufacturer, see if they'll give you that information, or the manual actually says that you can go out, take a shot at 750 yards, measure from your bullseye that you were aiming at down to the point where the bullet impacted whatever it is you were shooting at, and that distance of drop is going to be your drop number. Now, what's a little bit tricky about that is if you have a tremendous amount of drop and you don't have a big enough board, how are you supposed to figure that out? That part leaves me a little bit confused. So Burris, if you guys could clarify an easier way to get that drop number, I'd really appreciate it. And again, this is my first time with a scope like this. Maybe the answer is obvious. If you guys could chime in down below and let me know if that drop info is more readily available someplace, I'd love to know. But for somebody who's going to drop $1,300, $1,400 into one of these things, and they're being sold on the ease of use, that part might be a little bit tricky, especially if you're running any kind of unique Wildcat caliber. And so anyway, that little aspect of it has been a little bit frustrating. So I'm limited to about 4 or 5 different kinds of ammo that I can actually test through this rifle. So if I was doing any kind of a hand load, I'd have to figure that out myself. The other thing to take into consideration is that altitude above 1,000 feet, you have to recalculate that ballistic coefficient and those drop numbers. And again, some of you that are seasoned hunters, seasoned precision shooters, you might be really good at that. And so that might not be a problem for you. But they give you a somewhat complicated formula that you have to use to come up with a new BC number and a new drop number for that ammo. I sit at 3,291 feet roughly, where I'm located at here in central Nebraska. And so I need to come up with some new numbers. So once I get that data, and I finally got it from the Burris website, I now need to recalculate it, punch it in the scope, and I'm good to go. So essentially what you do is you take take your firearm to the range, you do a standard traditional crosshair 0 at 100 yards on maximum magnification. Then after that, you go into the scope itself, you punch in yards or meters, you punch in that BC number, you punch in that drop number, and then you are good to go. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you a little dot that's going to light up anytime you point this rifle at any target and use a rangefinder. It's going to tell you the distance. So if it's 300, 400, 500 yards, there's going to be, you've got your crosshairs pointed at your target. The little dot's going to light up, and that's called your holdover. That's going to be the point where you want to actually put the dot before you fire, because that's your projected trajectory for the firearm. And then there's also the windage correction that you need to make too. Is it overly complicated? No, I don't think so. I'm actually fascinated with how cool this thing really is. But again, it's one of those situations. Also, with just the standard mounts that comes with this rifle, you can't put your traditional tube mounts over this thing, scope rings over this scope, so you may need to get yourself some sort of a riser place. So right now I'm just using a 1-inch riser that I normally keep on one of my AR-15s. This should work fine for testing. I'm going to let the owner know he might want to look into something maybe a little more thorough or whatever. So either way, we'll get a chance to test it out, but it simply does not clear the front of the rifle with just the standard claw mounts that comes with the rifle. So those are my experiences so far. Again, it's not really a big deal, but I wanted to let you guys know if you're thinking about buying one of these maybe for the holidays, you know, kind of keep that into consideration when it comes to buying it. What caliber are you shooting? Go to the Burris website, download the ballistic chart, make sure they've got the data that you need. And if you hand load and do your own, you know, the powders could make a difference in the performance of the round versus what Burris has on hand. Maybe the bolts are all going to be the same. I don't know. When it comes to, say, 6.5 Creedmoor, you know, the grain weight, they'll produce a different drop number and a ballistic coefficient depending on the bullet type. So hopefully that's not too confusing. So anyway, that's my little rant on the Burris Eliminator 3. We'll hopefully be getting it out to the range this week. Just do a couple shots at 100, 200 yards and then see if we can hit anything out at 3, 4, 5 as far as I can go. I'm waiting for the weather to clear up right now. So anyway, guys, that is it. Thanks for joining me today. This is my quick little update on the Eliminator 3. If you watched part 1, you saw the unboxing, the features, specifications, and so on. It is a very cool scope, and I'm looking forward to taking it out and shooting it. I think it's going to be awesome. But otherwise, guys, that is it. So I want you to have fun. I want you to be safe, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. And as you know, we will talk to you soon. All right, take care, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.